Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football's final episode for the day, final match reaction show for the day, which is going to be on the Premier League game between Arsenal and Aston Villa. Unfortunately, we won't be able to cover the Real Madrid game that's going on. It's pretty interesting, actually, that one too, but it clashed with this one, so I wasn't able to watch that one. So sorry, Real Madrid La Liga fans. But please remember to subscribe to the channel and like and share this video if you enjoy the content. We wanted to hit 120 subscribers, so we still can. So please help us do that, and we really appreciate your support. But let's get into it. Let's get into this game. A shock result, actually, finishing 3-0 to Aston Villa. I don't think anybody expected that. I certainly did not expect that, especially after the way that they played against Manchester United last weekend. And I mean, it just puts that result into perspective, isn't it? Doesn't it? In some ways, it tells you how maybe United blew a chance there. Maybe they could have done better. But focusing on this game, Aston Villa did really well. Came out of the blocks very quickly. Very good with their pressing. Very good with their intensity. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Europa League took a toll. I think they had played 3 Europa League games consecutively. And maybe it finally, and I know there's a lot of squad rotation that goes on, but you still feel that finally, I think in some ways it caught up with them today. And maybe that was the case. I mean, surely, and that's the only explanation that I can come up with in terms of the lack of intensity. But I mean, that first goal, though, Aston Villa actually should have won 4-0, some would say. That first goal just allowed for offside. I mean, it's interesting. That goal for me, so in a common sense way, that is a goal, right? I mean, that is a goal. I don't think the keeper's getting anywhere near it. Barkley is not interfering with play in any sort of way, so it should be a goal in a common sense, logical, world that we live in. But we don't live in that world. We live in the world of VAR and lines and laws. And I think football's laws, as I've said, they need to be rewritten. And there needs to be a lot of. I mean, either needs to be more clarity or less clarity. But either way, there needs to be some kind of change that. And by the letter of the law, the referee made the right decision that it was offside. So if I was the ref, I would have not given it as an offside. I would have given it as a goal, but then I would be ignoring the laws of the game. So according to the letter of the law, it should not have been a goal. But from a common sense point of view, from a logical point of view, that should have been a goal. So I mean, again, it didn't cost Aston Villa too much in this game. It might have been a talking point in another game, but it's one of those things where you kind of have to, you kind of stand on each side of the fence, and I get that, and I expect that. And so there's going to be opinions, but from my opinion, from where I stand, I think that should have been a goal. But I kind of understand why it's not given. So, but it didn't affect them much. And again, it was easy. 5th minute, you get a goal against Arsenal, and then you suddenly disallowed, and it's a bit unjust. There's a sense of injustice. It could have broken Villa's spirit. It could have, made them drop their heads a little bit, but they didn't. Credit to them. They were strong, mentally they were strong. They showed a lot of character, and they kept plugging away. They kept making life difficult for Arsenal. And then finally, they got that breakthrough, which, I mean, it is that play in some ways, I think, explains what this Aston Villa side can do, as well as where Arsenal lack. Because, I mean, the fact that, Barkley and Grealish have the time of their lives pretty much to decide what they want to do, because there was like 3 or 4 passes that they played between each other, and I think they even involved I forget I think there was maybe Watkins. I think it was that they involved him as well a little bit. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that. But they involved 2 or 3 players, and it was between Barkley and Grealish. They were walking around. Grealish, I think, took like about 10-15 seconds just to play that pass to target. I think he took a good 10-15 seconds. I mean, when you have that amount of time in an opposition third, if you're an Arsenal defender, if you're the Arsenal manager, you've got to be disappointed with that. And if you're an Arsenal defender, you've got to be asking yourself, what were you doing? Because somebody's got to go press, somebody's got to go, close him down. There was nothing of that sort. They were all expecting a cross. They were all waiting for something to happen. And, Grealish just at the time, I think finally Target said, I'll just make a run, and he did. And again, nobody tracking his run. That is, the fault of either Bellerin should have done that, or I mean, you expect because because Willian is playing on the right, so you'd expect Willian to maybe do that as well. But neither of them did the tracking back. So Target has a pretty free run. There's offside. He gets the cross across goal. Once he gets across, across the face of goal, then it's always a catch-up game. Then you're kind of hoping that somebody, blocks it off. And Saka tried, but he put it into his own net, and you can't really blame Saka for that. I mean, he had no real choice. He had to go for that. He had to go for the ball, and then sometimes you get lucky and it goes out. Sometimes you get unlucky and it goes in the goal. So that happens, but really it shouldn't have come to that point. And it's poor defending from Arsenal. And we've talked about Arsenal's defensive solidity this season. Actually, they've been pretty good defensively in most phases of play. But today there's something, and maybe the intensity was lacking. As I said, maybe there were issues because of all the games that they had played. But yeah, it wasn't a good defensive moment for Arsenal in that particular play, and it didn't get better for them. And I don't know why Partey came off. To be honest, I have no idea why Partey. I'm thinking that's an injury rather than any kind of tactical change, because Partey is one of those players you got to keep on even for 90 minutes, even if he's not playing well. You keep him on because he's that one guy who can make things happen. Not necessarily score goals, but he can make things happen in that midfield, and he really keeps that midfield ticking. So I'm assuming that there was an injury issue, maybe a fitness issue, but we shall see. We'll know more, I guess, from Arteta in the coming hours or days. We'll know more. But the second half, even with Ceballos coming on, there was a couple of half chances. There were a couple of good chances, and when Pepe came on as well for Willian, when Nketiah came on, there was a few chances, and there was nothing. I can't remember a clear cut opportunity where Martinez had to stretch himself, or whether he was like panicking. There was no panic stations. There were a few blocks in there, a few mishits, whatever. And that's where the issue for Arsenal is. Their lack of creativity doesn't hurt them if their defense is strong. But if your defense is vulnerable, as it was today, then that lack of offensive arsenal, or pardon the pun, offensive weaponry, that becomes an issue, because you can win 1-0 and you can win 2-1 in games, but you can't always do that. And there will be games when the defense will concede 2 goals or 3 goals, and you can't and then sometimes you need that offensive weaponry to be able to counter that, and they didn't have it. And I think Arsenal need to rethink their midfield combination. I think the Elneny Partey thing works, but maybe it's time now to try Ceballos and Partey. Maybe give them a chance. Maybe look at instead of a 3-4-3 that they play, maybe look at a 3-5-2. Perhaps, not sure what they can do, but they have to look at something different, because the defense needs that protection. So they need to provide defensive protection, but they also need to make sure that their attack gets enough supply and enough, it's getting the service that it needs. So they need to rethink about how they're going to go ahead and and reject that combination. Maybe Willian has been really off form. I think today he was probably one of the worst players on the pitch. Again, similar to not as, I think Sterling. We talked this about Sterling, but I think Willian was not very good either. I think he was pretty bad today. And maybe they need to take him out of the firing line. Maybe look at who else they can maybe look at rejecting that combination. I think they need to get Aubameyang playing more centrally. I don't think Lacazette is cutting it at the moment, because if he's not scoring goals, then there's no point in playing him as a striker when you can play Aubameyang there, or play them both up front together in a 3-5-2, as I said. So they'll need to think. Arteta will need to think about that. He'll need to make some changes about how he wants to approach the next few games coming up, because they have done very well to get themselves into the conversation for top 4. Now they need to make sure that they stay there, that they can still continue plugging away and getting into that top 4, because they won't have a better chance than this season. So they need to look at that for sure. So I mean, that's something to consider as well. I think on that note, I think we have to talk about Aston Villa a little bit as well. I think they were brilliant today. There was shades of that 7-2 win. A lot of people will talk about that 7-2 win. But I think this one was better, because that one, there was a lot of deflected goals, and there were 3 or 4 deflected goals in that. There was a little bit of there was quite a bit of luck involved. There was a lot of it wasn't that Liverpool were that bad to concede 7 goals. It was just a matter of it was one of those freak results that happened. Today they were very good defensively, and they were very good offensively, and they controlled the game almost from start to finish. Like I said, I didn't think there were too many chances for Arsenal. There were a few off-target shots that were there, and there was a bit of scare, but there was not exactly panic stations at any point. So they controlled the game from minute 1 to minute 90. I think that's what would have really pleased them. Keeping a clean sheet as well, scoring 3 goals. And I was about to say, actually, it was 1-0, I think, up to the later stages. I was going to say we had 15 goals in the 3 games that we did yesterday at the match reactions. For today, we had 1-0 and 1-1. Not a lot of goals. And then they popped up today with 3 goals. Aston Villa saved that bacon a little bit and got 3 goals. But all 3 goals really well taken, really well worked. There was a pattern of play. They had clear tactics, clear plan. They executed that perfectly on the pitch. And I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, I put a tweet out as well about Jack Grealish. I think he is a phenomenal player, and it's criminal. It's borderline criminal that he isn't playing for England more often. That he doesn't start for England more often. He should be the first name on the England team sheet. This I said this at the end of at the start of the last international break, and he didn't get enough game time. And I'm almost certain that he will not get enough game time for this one as well. But he should be starting. He should be ahead of Sancho, Sterling, and Rashford. If Southgate sees him as a winger, he's better than all of those three wingers right now on current form. He's better than all three of them. And if he sees him as a midfielder, then again, I don't see too many creative midfielders that are better than him in the Premier League. But either way, he should be starting, and hopefully he will add to his England caps substantially over this international break. Maybe not play all three games. You obviously don't want to burn him out, but he should probably start at least two of the three games he should be starting. So anyway, but we shall see. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll know more. But phenomenal player. I think he might. I mean, yeah, I was just thinking, if he doesn't have enough caps, we might very well talk about him as this generation's Matt Letizia in some ways, in the way he, and in some ways that he plays, he does resemble that a little bit. I think he's probably a little bit quicker on the pitch and a little bit more focused. But I mean, yeah, he's sublime. He's a brilliant player, Jack Grealish. I think Aston Villa very lucky to have him. Ollie Watkins as well scored 2 goals. I think these were his first goals since scoring against Liverpool. So he likes the big 6 teams that he scores against, but 2 well taken goals. I think there's nothing you can say about that. Very instinctive, very well taken goals. And I mean, it's a toss-up. Would you give it to Barkley? Would you give it to Grealish? Would you give it to Ollie Watkins as a man of the match? And maybe Ollie Watkins. Well, let's give him a bit of a confidence boost. We'll say Ollie Watkins was a man of the match. So, I mean, I was very impressed with both Barkley and Grealish as well in this game. They both really played well. The third goal, though, was a real touch of class, because it's a counter attack, and again, you expect Arsenal with the 3-man defense to protect against that, but they didn't. And Grealish just ran all the way through past Bayern, I believe it was. He just ran past him, passed the ball, and Watkins just slots it in. Brilliant performance overall. Brilliant play that. And again, it shows that Grealish can play as a winger, that he's got some pace. He may not be as pacey as those guys, but he's got enough pace to go past a player. And the main thing is, you don't always need pace, in your wings. Sometimes having that creativity is also really important. So hats off to Aston Villa. Really well done, and it's a strange season, as you say, but we'll just take a quick look at the Premier League table, just for kicks. We'll look at it and see what the standings are now, because as I said, there was a bit of a movement around, but Leicester are top of the table. Southampton are now 4th. Liverpool and Spurs are 2nd and 3rd respectively, though that's only on goal difference. And Aston Villa are now 6th. They're level on points with Chelsea. They do have a game in hand, though, so that will be critical as well. If they win that one, potentially they would be above Chelsea at this point. So and keep in mind that this season, all the way up to 8th, you can go all the way up to 8th and still play in Europe next season because of the Europa Conference League thingy that's starting next year. So I mean, definitely Villa in contention for Champions League spots as well as for a European spot for sure. So I mean, we're going to keep an eye on that. We could very well have a situation where we have Leicester and Villa playing in the Champions League next season. I don't think it will happen, but it could happen, and that would be really interesting. It's an interesting season, that's for sure. But I mean, tough luck, Arsenal fans. Hopefully, it will be better after the international break. It's a bump in the road. I mean, these kind of things will happen. I think a lot of people say, I mean, it's probably the same issue that Manchester United have, that even City have at times, where when teams sit back, it's difficult to break them down. And it happened to Arsenal today, where they couldn't break Aston Villa down. And Aston Villa played, I don't think Aston Villa played on the counter. I think what they did was they really pressed Arsenal, which I think Arsenal were not expecting, and they were probably not at it. But yeah, that's something to work on. And I don't think this shows that Arteta is a bad manager. I think that's something for him to learn, and he will do well. And he will learn from this, and he will get better as time goes on, hopefully. Aston Villa have got Brighton next, so that you would expect them to win that. And if they can play like they played today, then they should win that game, and that will again give them another 3 points to carry on that momentum. Though we say that, and then you never know. But in the season with these teams, you just never know what result you're going to get. But hopefully Aston Villa can keep that momentum going. For Arsenal, they are going to take on Leeds, and that is going to be a cracker of a game, because Leeds are going to press Arsenal even more. They're going to be gung-ho about it, but that may play into Arsenal's hands, because Arsenal may like the fact that there's a team that's going to leave spaces for them to attack, going to give them that, going to come at them, and they can park the bus and defend and then play on the break. So maybe that'll be a nice clash of styles between Arsenal and Leeds. But at the moment, there's a lot of thinking for Arteta to do about that game, and he has the time. 2 weeks to go for the international break. But anyway, that concludes my observations and analysis, if you want to call it that, and reaction to this game. A very surprising result, 0-3 to Aston Villa in the end. A great performance lifts them up to 6th in the table. Arsenal are now currently, at the moment, they are 11th. So for all the talk about Manchester City are 10th, I mean, imagine that. But it's an interesting time to be alive at the moment. But still a long way to go in the season. We're only about a fifth of the way through, so we've still got a lot of games to come. So we shall see how that goes. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and share with your fellow Arsenal fans, your fellow Aston Villa fans, your Spurs fans who might live well in seeing this. We do appreciate it with everyone you know. And we really appreciate the support. And please remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, so we can continue to grow this and support. And of course, if you subscribe, you then get notifications as soon as new videos come out. So it's definitely a great way to stay in touch. Thank you so much. This is our last video for the day. Hopefully, I made this. That's our last video. But thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, or enjoy the rest of the week if depending on where you are. Have a good week, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.